Ever showed someone a thing and have them not care, only to later have them come back loving this thing and having no recollection of you introducing them to it? What was your thing? Years ago, a friend was telling me about a band he liked, I don't remember which. I said if you like them, then you'll probably really like Florence and the Machine, too. He listened to them, said he wasn't really into it. About a year later he started dating a girl. I went to hang out with them and he starts telling me how excited he is for this concert she got them tickets to for a band that she introduced him to and he's totally loving. It was Florence and the Machine. Next comment. My husband refused to even try salsa for years. I kept encouraging him to try my favorite salsa, which was a fresh salsa from a regional grocery store chain. He wouldn't even entertain it. A few years later, one of his buddies takes him out to a taco place for lunch where he finally tries some damn salsa. He then discovers that he loves salsa. I'm kinda annoyed because he tried it when his friend suggested it one time but dug in his heels and refused to try it for years when I suggested it. One day this man comes home with groceries and is raving about this salsa that I just have to try because it's so good. He fucking pulls out my favorite salsa and acts like he is Christopher fucking Columbus discovering the new world. I was so annoyed and told him that I have had it before, it is my favorite, and I have been trying to get him to take a taste for literal years. Oh, well it's really good. Next comment. I showed my sister a combination of foods to make this extremely weird sandwich. She said she hated it. 2 months later she's eating that sandwich and claims that she created that. Next comment. I taught my husband how to treat brain freeze by pressing your tongue up against your soft palate at the back of your mouth. He scoffed and said that sounded fake. He also said my cure for hiccups by eating a spoonful of peanut butter was fake. Like 5 years later I go brain freeze and he gets all excited about this cure he knows about and starts telling me to put my tongue on the roof of my mouth. He eventually believed me that it was me who taught him that. But still doesn't believe that he didn't immediately appreciate the cure. Next comment. Back in the 80s I got into a band called Poison, and I imported their record at great expense, like records were $12 and I paid $49.99. Then a few weeks later I took it to a party and everyone hated it so much that someone threw it onto the fire. A couple of weeks later it was released here and went crazy. I go to the same house for a party with the same people. And they won't stop playing the record. I tell them that it is the same one that they burnt and they all accused me of being a liar. Next comment. I recommended Discord to my friend group before it really became a thing. Everyone was confused as to why they needed something other than Skype. Then I stopped using it because none of my friends were using it. Next comment. I told my family for years I wanted to build a tiny home and introduced them to the idea. Came back from a semester at school and my dad loaned my brother $60,000 and helped him build one. Next comment. I have a friend whose sister died young, 18 in a car accident. Not too long after, we were hanging out showing each other music and she showed me the song If I Die Young by the band Perry. I kinda brushed it off, didn't listen closely because I was excited about showing her my song next. Later when the song became popular, we were hanging out and the song came on the radio and I was like oh snap I love this song. She reminded me she was the one who introduced me to it and that I had brushed her off at that time. This happened years ago but I still feel like such a selfish bitch for not listening to it and realizing how much that song probably meant to her in the aftermath of her sister's untimely death. Next comment. Reverse story here because it just happened this weekend. I came home and told my husband that I wanted to watch the Amazon show The Boys and I explained the premise of the show while he patiently listened. When I was done, he told me that he knows what it's about because he's already watched it and apparently tried to get me to watch it. I do not remember this at all, but I believe it is probably true. He rewatched it with me and I thought it was great. Next comment. My mom and I had been trying to get my sister to go to a yoga class with us for months. It's free with our gym membership. Once she goes off to college though, her roommate does yoga and suddenly it's her new favorite thing and she tells me to give it a try. Next comment. My sister. She is older than me. She is just above 40 and I am just below 40. All the time I will recommend a TV show to watch because we both love brainless sitcoms. All the time she will post on her FB asking for TV show recommendations. Typically months or years later she will recommend I watch a show that I suggest forever ago claiming she found it. The biggest one for me was the show Happy Endings. I suggested it to her when it was on live TV. Then I suggested it again when TV pirating was easier than it is now. Then I suggested it to her when it ended up on Netflix. Then 2 years after that she texts me at work to tell me about the most amazing show she found, Happy Endings. Next comment. Star Wars. The fuck, right? But this was the early mid-90s and being a nerd wasn't nearly as socially acceptable as it is today, and Star Wars was nerdy, because spaceships were involved, instead of pirate ships, or some shit. Whatever. Anyhow, my friend and I were hanging out, had to find something to do. We were at the grocery store for snacks, and were checking out the video rental section, remember that? I suggested Star Wars, and he told me no, because that's nerd shit and stupid and gay and whatever else 11-year-olds of the day said when they didn't like something. Of course a year later the Star Wars remaster comes out, with all them new scenes, improved special effects, yada yada yada. Next comment. This was one of the reasons I went into business for myself. Was working for a larger residential electrical company that doubled in size overnight. When I got hired on I was in charge of all the service and warranty work. It was an absolute nightmare, but I built the department up from nothing and the company could continue to grow. The owner asked me for some ideas and the ones I offered up he said wouldn't work. Okay, that's fine, I will go back to working in my spot and leave it alone. A little over a month goes by and we're having a meeting and he offers up all these ideas that came to him in a dream a few nights ago. Nope. Those were all my ideas and he didn't know I told all the other managers my ideas before I told him to see what they thought. So it was funny when he tried to take credit and I let him think he got credit, but I knew, we all knew. Either way my ideas, his ideas, worked out, the company got better and made more money. Owner came to me again for more ideas and I responded asterisk so you can take credit for them, no I am good asterisk. About a couple months later I opened my shop and been doing good since. Next comment. Pokemon introduced it to my friend, he went on and on how it was shit and boring, then a week later he reappears with his own Game Boy and opposite version to mine trying to tell me how amazing this game is and I should try it. Would even tell our mutual friends he got me into it even though they'd all been playing Pokemon as long as I had and he was the last to get it, but like all things with that fool he quit shortly after realizing he couldn't beat me. Then in high school I went to drop 3 months of school work to him cause he was lazy and barely ever went. His mom told me to just put it in his room in the cabinet above his desk. So I opened the cupboard and I see a massive collection of Pokemon stuff, all the recent games and a bunch of score sheets with his names on them with a bunch of win ticks under his name. It was like he become some weird closet Pokemon hermit. His mum said he names all his rivals after me, not just Pokemon, and marks his victories down on his scorecards. Nah bro, not creepy at all. Next comment. I introduced a co-worker to Coulter Wall. At first he thought Wall's music was dumb. Months later he's talking about having listened to his stuff like it's new. Next comment. Wedding vows. My best man used several fairly unusual lines from our wedding vows years later in his own wedding. Next comment. Oh man, so my brother is a brilliant pianist, but he mainly plays classical and jazz, doesn't know / care for much music beyond like 1950. Growing up, I'd sometimes jam and sing on the piano, playing through our dad's old music books. I would often try and show him things, but he rejected them quite quickly. He's better with this now though. Anyway, I went through a phase of playing a lot of Billy Joel, and it must have slowly seeped into my brother's consciousness. Cut to about a year later, me and my sister are talking about modern music we like, and our brother calmly chimes in, I really like Billy Joel. Cue stunned faces. Billy Joel. Yes, I think he is an excellent pianist and one of the greatest songwriters of our day. It was annoying, but it also warmed my heart so much. I like to think that I left the sheet music on the piano, and he waited until no one was around, and cautiously emerged like a deer from the woods, and started playing it. Next comment. In my middle school I told a few of my friends about the idea that time might be an illusion. They acted like I was an idiot. 4 years later they stumbled on the same ideas and acted like it was this huge revelation that they had to tell everyone about. Next comment. This was me introducing my mother and brother to Avatar, The Last Airbender *. I had seen only bits and pieces of the first 2 seasons, but when season 3 started I was able to watch regularly. My mother didn't know anything about it, my brother thought it was a rip-off of Naruto *. The first time the Puppet Master, the bloodbending episode, aired, Mom and Bro heckled it. They thought the whole thing was melodramatic and stupid. A standout moment was Mom scoffing at Katara's ghost story at the beginning. It annoyed me, but I refused to quit the show. During the mid-season break I made sure to watch the marathons of seasons 1 and 2. My family ended up joining in and they got hooked. When the reruns got to the Puppet Master, Mom and Bro acted like they'd never seen it before. Mom called the ghost story creepy and she and Bro were enraptured by the rest of the episode. Next comment. Yes, the game Borderlands and Borderlands 2. Worked with a couple of guys and would go play BL and later BL2 with one of them on their big screen TV, was a blast. We'd always offer/ask one of our friends that was into gaming to join us, the more the merrier type deal. He would always say no, say it was a stupid game, etc. It was a running joke he'd never play a group game unless it was his idea. Lo and behold, about 1 year later see a Facebook post from him going off about how awesome BL2 is and how amazing the series is, etc. Angered me a bit. I just try to let it go, but it always irked me as so very try hard. Next comment. I introduced my ex to Dragon Age Origins and when I tried making convo about it he was like, oh, I didn't know you actually played, bet you had a walkthrough open the whole time, huh, what a fucking dickhead. I recommended to that same ex the TV show Suits and he was like meh, and a few months later he was talking about how he and his buddies love this TV show and maybe I ought to try it, but he wasn't sure if I'd understand. I said that was the show I was talking about before and he was just like, oh, huh. I bet there were a lot more cases since I shared a lot with him, and we were pretty much interested in the same things, only he didn't believe that and always dismisses the idea and never really paid actual attention. Next comment. Next comment. Sort of the opposite. My aunt told me about a really cool movie, and it didn't sound great so I didn't watch. But a while later I was bored and saw it was on Netflix or something, so I gave it a watch. It turned out pretty good, I enjoyed it. When I went to tell her I'd seen the movie, she had no recollection of the movie's plot or her ever having mentioned it to me. Next comment. I'm still bitter about 1917. I tried to convince my girlfriend to go see it with me for like a week after it came out. I don't wanna see a dumb action movie. Eventually I gave up and went by myself. After it won Best Picture, my girlfriend was so excited to show me this new movie that looks really interesting. Next comment. I'm like this with my best friend. All the freaking time. 1997. Me, well. There's this new fantasy series called Harry Potter that's really good. Fantasy was never my thing. 2002. So my sister recommended these Harry Potter books and here's my cosplay for the Chamber of Secrets premiere. Harry Potter is my life now. 1999. Me, dude, you have to see this movie The Matrix. It'll blow your mind. Yeah, okay. 2003. Oh my god, this movie Matrix Reloaded is amazing. And there was one before it. How come you never told me? 1999. Me, oh man, new Star Wars movies are coming up. You excited? I was never really into Star Wars. I'll watch it eventually. 2002. So my girlfriend made me watch Phantom Menace and here's our cosplay for the Attack of the Clones premiere. Star Wars is my life now. You were always into Star Wars. How come you never recommended these prequels? 2005. Me, dude, you've got to check out the new Doctor Who. It's fantastic. Yeah, whatever. Next comment. Next comment. Mostly just bands, but especially Fall Out Boy. I remember being pretty young and getting into them when they were still quite small and not known at all here in the UK. I heard them because I had a friend who had a friend who lived in the States, and she'd often send her CDs of bands that we didn't have here, and Fall Out Boy's album Take This to Your Grave was one of them. We loved the hell out of it, and told a lot of our friends to listen to them, as they might like them too. Everyone was just like, what the fuck are you on about? You two always listen to the dumbest shit. Then a couple of years later, Sugar, We're Going Down came out, and suddenly everyone was obsessed with them, including all the people we'd been trying to talk to about Fall Out Boy for years, and they were also fake enough to be like, oh yeah, I've always listened to them, I'm their biggest fan, when they just laughed at us for listening to them before. People are such posers when it comes to music sometimes. If you've only just got into a band, just say it. It's not a crime. Next comment. I get a more extreme version of this asterisk all the time asterisk from my father. I buy or do something new, an induction cooktop, an electric car, an LED bulb, find a new route home, swap cable for Netflix, switch supermarkets, make my own bread, buy a juicer. Could be anything. My parents visit, my mom asks about it, and my dad start telling me how I should have bought what he uses, because he researched it and it's the best. Whatever your requirements are, cheapest. Most reliable. Best looking. Softest. Doesn't matter, whatever it is you're looking for, if you didn't pick the same one he did last time around, then you got it wrong. I guarantee, within 6 months of that conversation, he will tell me about his new X, Y or Z. He will have bought exactly what I did. He will genuinely seem to have no idea that I recommended it to him not long before. I'll point that out, and he'll say, "Ha. No, I think I was already looking at them." Then sometime within the next couple of months, somebody else will ask me about mine when he's around, and he'll interject with asterisk, "Yeah, I got one of those a while ago. They're great. Nearly everybody I've told about it has bought one and they love them." That's how Sine Wave 48 found out about them. They couldn't help themselves once they saw mine. Honestly, I don't know why anybody still uses whatever it is he was using 6 months earlier that he insisted I was an idiot for not using, asterisk. Anyway, rant over. Next comment. My dad with Game of Thrones. He refused to even try and watch it after me telling him how good it was. 3 years later he's the biggest fan and asked me if I've ever seen it. Next comment. I introduced a couple of friends to Imagine Dragons, they were less than impressed. Fast forward a couple of years and they are going to a Imagine Dragons concert and asking me if I've heard of this great new band. Next comment. Showed Panic at the disco to a friend of mine before Pray for the Wicked came out. She didn't seem very impressed. Fast forward a few months and she decides to show me this cool band she found which just released a cool song called High Hopes. She also now has Brendan Urie covered in Petals as her phone background. Next comment. This happens a lot with music to me. Well, it did before I moved across the country and don't see or talk to people I used to know a lot. I would show someone a song and they wouldn't really say anything, but months later they would show me that song and ask if I had ever heard of it. Next comment. My ex did this continually while we were together. Movies, music, TV shows, video games. 6 to 12 months after I'd show her something and she would dismiss it, it suddenly became great. After the first few times I gave up saying I showed her before. Next comment. I showed a friend this song by Dabin, Alive, and he said it was okay. Next comment. I always used to listen to George Ezra, he's popular in America, but anyway I always listened to him and tried to introduce my friends but they didn't care. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed.